Talking about some ACAC and NECC games that are interesting. Adams Central at Eastside. Obviously, Eastside had Woodland right out of the gate. Not a great first half in that game, but special teams made some plays in the second half. If you're Todd Mason, you're trying to put your stamp on the program early on, so they've got some moving parts there. And then Adams Central kind of just picked up where they left off.
Yeah.
42-14 over Belmont. Schultz is running for 100 yards. Macklin's running for 100 yards. They got only their third quarterback in school history because everybody plays for 15 years.
Right.
Parker Bates looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So an interesting test, I guess, for Adams Central, especially because you're talking about, Eastside's a pretty good program, and Adams Central essentially is getting ready for another run in 1A.
Yeah, and the thing with Drew Schultz, we talk so much about Drew Schultz, but, defenses are going to key on stopping him, but you mentioned Macklin is a perfect complement to him. Parker Bates can make enough plays, both with his arm and his legs, to kind of keep defenses honest. So this is a Flying Jets team that you're looking ahead, going, this could be dangerous in 1A, and could they give Woodland a game there week 9? I mean, we take so much out of 1 week. It's so difficult. But then again, we look at it, and finally we have games to analyze, right? Because we're talking about the teams before the season starts ad nauseum. So now we can actually look at some tape and look at some of these teams and how they performed. So you have to look at Adams Central team that I think is a solid number 2 once again in the ACAC.
You mentioned Woodland there, and they've got Prairie Heights this week. You don't ever want to overlook anybody. I know Woodland is never going to feel like that with the South Adams playoff loss. They're never going to overlook anybody.
Right, definitely.
But if you're Sherwood Haydock, how do you rate last week's performance? Because you're up big in the first half, then you let Eastside kind of back into the game. Like, that's not a trend you want to ever happen. I mean, you want to stomp them, and put the foot on the gas pedal and never look back.
Especially last year when they lose to South Adams. They were the better team last year, and they kind of bought into their hype. So maybe there's warning bells going on. Say, man, we were dominating that game and kind of let up a little bit in the second half. It's so difficult for Woodland because we know that their season doesn't really start until sectionals, until the postseason. This team should go 9-0 if it plays to its potential. But then again, you don't want these kids looking ahead either. So how do you find that balance where you want to play it week to week? Then again, you're going to be favored in every single one of your regular season games. So it'll be interesting. The first half of the schedule, relatively easy for Woodland. The back half is where it gets difficult, which will benefit them because they'll get some tests and going into the postseason, especially playing like an improved Adams Central, South Adams, an improved Jay County program, Lima Central Catholic. Then again, it didn't help them last year.
This is true, but one team that I really want to keep my eye on this week is Churubusco because unfortunately, you've got Garrett Horn, who's out for an injury, out with a leg injury. Not sure exactly how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
But here's a guy who rushed for right at 1,700 yards last year, and you know what Busco's offense prides themselves on is running the football. Joey Hemmenheiser is going to take a bigger role. They've got a couple guys that are going to step up more into that fullback role. But they traveled to Lakeland. Lakeland, Wawasee last week hung 52 on them, so Lakeland's looking to bounce back defensively. But a big test, I think, when you take the big horse out of Busco's offense.
Yeah, Garrett Horn's going to be out indefinitely with that leg injury, so you don't know if you'll get him back at all. So at least it happened earlier in the season where you can kind of start building some stuff with some other guys. The way this offense is formed with Churubusco, it's really not predicated on a dominant player more as the system in general, particularly against the majority of teams they play. So as long as that offensive line can still do what they do and the guys in the backfield can make some plays, it's really – you can get by without Garrett Horn. Now, obviously he's a huge part of this team, but it doesn't hurt you as much as, say, you take a Jaya Wright away from Homestead.
Andrew McCormick away from
East Noble. Andrew McCormick out of East Noble, something like that. So it's not an insurmountable thing for Churubusco, but it definitely hurts, and it definitely hurts that depth because everybody has to be raised one step up forward on that depth chart.
All right. Anything else you're looking forward to about week 2?
I'm just looking forward to seeing we can get a little bit more clarity with all these teams. I take that Northrop Homestead game as an example. Is Northrop better? Is Homestead regressed? I mean, those are the things we want to see. Carroll and Lures. Is Carroll not as good as we thought? Is Lures better than we thought? So I think those are the things that we're going to see some clarity for this week and the coming weeks ahead.
And everything we said this week, again, will be proven right next Monday.
We'll come back next week and toot our own horn.
How do we do it? We will see you next Monday right here on Wayne.com. He's Justin. I'm Glenn. We'll see you next week.